Hi, this is Phil Landers, designated broker at Keller Williams Real Estate Company. Today we're going to have career conversations with Phil where we're going to showcase our top agents. We're going to be learning about their systems, their strategies, and their mindsets on building big businesses. We're changing lives and living the dream. Welcome to this week's edition of Career Conversations with Phil. Today, our special guest is Ginger Randall. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming in and being with us today.
You're welcome, Phil. Thanks for asking me.
Man, it's my pleasure. So, Ginger, what were you doing before real estate?
I had been in the fitness industry for 18 years. I was a personal trainer and a group exercise director and a fitness department manager with a local fitness center here in town.
Perfect. And so what made you decide to transition from the fitness world to real estate?
Well, in fitness, you have to be passionate about helping people.
Gotcha.
And I was. And for years and years, I really loved that. I felt like that was the appropriate mission field for me to be in. There wasn't a tremendous amount of compensation monetarily.
Right.
But I felt like it was where I was supposed to be. And it gave me the opportunity to spend time with my family and meet the needs of my family in light of my husband's career and all those different things. It wasn't a lot of monetary compensation, but I loved doing what I did.
Loved doing what you did. So how did you get turned on to real estate? What made you want, I need to go to real estate? I want to do real estate.
Well, I had a dear friend who had started doing real estate a few years before.
Okay.
And she was like, Ginger, you should do this. You would love it and you'd be great at it.
Right.
And, there was a lot of hesitation and fear because I was so good at what I was doing and I loved what I was doing. But when it quit being fun because of corporate changes, it quit being fun. And so the Lord started changing my heart and changing my direction. And it was petrifying to let go of it. And so I started the process of becoming a real estate agent, but I let go of fitness like kicking and screaming.
Okay. So there may be other agents out there that are like you that are transitioning from their career to a real estate career. What advice would you have for them to make that transition a little bit more smoothly so they're not going kicking and screaming, as you would call it?
Trust in what the Lord's leading you to do. And the ground's probably not that far below your feet. It feels like you're jumping into a cavern, and it may just be a step.
Right. Okay. Did you find when you were making that transition, you said you had a friend here, did you have a lot of support and resources to help you get transitioned into real estate?
Not really. I mean, it was my friend was with a boutique brokerage here in town. She's still a very, very good friend of mine.
Right.
And I actually, at the time when I got my license hung on that wall.
Interesting.
For a couple of months.
Wow.
And I went with that brokerage because they're good, strong Christian folks. And I still have a relationship with them today. And I started and I said, so I have my license now. What do I do?
Right.
And they said, well, just go talk to your sphere of influence.
Okay.
And my response was, and say what?
Gotcha.
And they had no answer for that. Right. And at the same time, Casey Holcomb, my cousin, had come here and I was expressing my frustration and she told me about the training here.
Gotcha.
And she said, Ginger, I think I have an answer to your frustration. And then I made my way here and I started doing the training.
So how long have you been in real estate?
Almost 3 years now.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And so you probably already said this, but why Keller Williams?
For the training.
For the training.
And I'll tell you, even I went and spoke to the broker at that other boutique.
Right.
And I explained to him my frustration. And he told me, he said, Ginger, you're going to do great in real estate. Now, I had never even had a transaction. I'd been 2 months with my license. He said, but I cannot compete with Keller Williams for training. He said, and anybody that tells you otherwise is lying.
Really?
He said, you go to Keller Williams, and in 3 or 4 years, when you have all that you need, I'm going to welcome you right back because you're going to do great in real estate.
Wow.
He said, you just need to know there's an open door policy for you to come right on back.
Interesting.
I know.
I've heard that said about Keller Williams many, many times by different competing brokers. They say, go to Keller if you want to get trained up and then come on back.
And he did. And I still talk to him, and he still says that now.
Well, we're glad you're here, and I hope that we can continue to help you grow and reach that next level.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your production. Do you know your numbers?
I do know my numbers.
Okay. And so do you have a goal for this year?
I did set a goal for this year, and I have met that goal. As far as capping, I capped last month. And it was the first time I've capped, which was exciting.
So you've been with Keller for about 2 years and some change, and this is your first year that you've capped.
Yes.
And typically, that's what I observe. There are some rare cases where people will cap the first year, but typically it takes a year and a half to really get your momentum going. You cap in about 12 months. And then the next year, it's about 10 and some change, and then 8. And it just continues to accelerate. That's been my experience with agents who are absolutely engaged in working the models and the systems. It sounds like you are.
I am, yes.
Perfect. So you have a plan, and you're working your plan.
Yes.
Do you know what your production was last year?
I do.
Okay. It was about 3.7 million. That's awesome.
I was excited.
Yeah, you should be excited. And you're on track to do a little bit better than that based on some things you shared with me prior to this podcast.
Yes.
Terrific. So you're on 100%. What does that feel like to be on 100% to get everything you make?
Well, I just came to 100% last month. So I've had 2 transactions that were at 100%. And, I was telling you earlier, it just astounds me and it baffles me that, I get to all of that money coming in with the exception of saving parking 30% for taxes.
Right.
I get to keep.
Right.
And it is amazing to me because, coming from where I was in that different industry, I had a different belief system about my self-worth.
Wow.
And so seeing the money come in now, it has changed my expectations for what I am worth and what I can produce. And it has just really, really been humbling to me that I get to be involved in that. That
is so awesome. So your self-worth has gone up because you're starting to understand who you are. And and that's one of the reasons why we have a capping system is that it's wealth without limits.
Yes.
And there's no limits on what you can do.
Right.
So what are some of the things you're able to do with that money that you couldn't do in your previous job?
Well, I mentioned to you previously in my previous employment, I have a good friend who still works in that industry now, and he blessed me in ways years ago with a tremendous gift. And it was just at that moment, it was very, very special and meant a lot because he recognized that. Well, I wasn't able to reciprocate that because I don't think you should have to. But this year, I found out about an opportunity that I could do something above and beyond to bless him as well.
Okay.
And so I took it upon myself. The Lord just led me to it, and I did something very nice for he and his wife. And I gifted him in a way that I never normally would have been able to. And then I found out later that his wife has been very ill, and the gift that the Lord brought me to was able to provide a blessing for he and his wife that, they really, really needed at the time. And I had no way of knowing that. He told me later.
Wow. That is so awesome. I love to hear those kind of stories. Yeah. And that just makes me appreciate you all the more. That's the culture that we want here in our company is a culture of giving, a culture of abundance. And you absolutely are all those things. So I'm so happy to be in business with you. So let's talk a little bit about your business and the things that you do. Because there's agents out there that says, okay, I'm kind of new myself and I need to get my momentum going. What kind of activities? Do you time block your day?
I do.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I come from an agriculture. Growing gardens and things are very familiar to me because I was raised around horses and agriculture and gardens and things like that. So I make it seem as if you're planting a garden. And when you start a brand new thing, it's a brand new tract of land you have to dig in.
Right.
And so at first, it's really, really, really a lot of labor, and you don't see any produce for a long time.
Right.
So when you first come to this, it's just like starting a garden. You have to do a lot of work before you'll see a tomato or you'll see a plum or you'll see anything grow. Right. But those first steps are just as important as dropping the seed in the ground.
Okay. So you see real estate as a new venture, as a new garden that you've got to plant, and it's labor intensive. There's a lot of work that you've got to put in it so that you'll bear the fruit
later on,
on the other side. So what are some of the specific activities? What's the work you're putting into it? What does that look like?
Well, when I first started out, it was like I had to help people understand that I didn't want them to continue to associate me as their personal trainer friend.
Gotcha. Right.
Or if I need to ask a question about losing weight, or, so I had to reprogram people's thought process about who I was and what benefit I could bring to their life. And that took a lot of time. Yeah. Because for 18 years, they knew me as the person in the gym that they could go and ask questions to, or I would help them. So
you're shifting their mindset on who you are and the contribution you'll be making in their life. Can you give me an example of what that would look like?
Well, personal contact, making sure I talk to them when I see them,
Right.
to remind them that's what I do. Reaching out to them, being involved in the community, just like I was before.
Right.
But when I have the opportunity to talk to them, talk to them about where they are in their real estate life, not their fitness life.
Right.
And reminding them, and you just continue to be involved in their lives, but remind them at the appropriate time that I have a skill set now that they might need and benefit from at some point in their life.
Perfect.
But don't make it all about that all the time.
Yes, right. I mean, it's a relationship thing. It's not about trying to sell them, because here's what I know. We're not going to sell. We're not so good. Ginger's not so good.
No.
You're going to sell anybody a house that doesn't want to sell a house, right? Or buy a house.
Exactly.
Or list a house that doesn't want to list.
And I tell you, a lot of the business I have has come from people that I've been involved in my church community for 25 years.
Yeah.
And so they've known me well before my real estate license.
Right.
For my character
Right.
and what I could bring.
And that really takes a lot of pressure off when you know that, hey, listen, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything.
No.
I just want to be in the path when they're ready to make that decision, so they can remember me,
Right.
and they will call me to come and help them with their business decision.
Right. And I tell people, I said, real estate and personal training have a lot in common because they're both really hard and they're really personal. And there's times in your life where you have to ask really hard questions that are awkward. And there's a group of us that are okay with asking hard questions.
Tell me more about that awkward question that you feel like others may benefit from understanding.
Well, having the conversation about your finances. Why are you spending that? Or I told you you can't go out and buy furniture.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be, living on your furniture. Or, remember, you can't go out and buy those things right now.
Right.
Or, getting to a win-win with people's finances is a very hard discussion, because I want my things that are important to me to be just as important to you as they are to me as a seller or the buyer.
Okay.
And so you got to negotiate through those conversations.
So we're going to work in our field, okay, and that's a daily thing. You said you're time blocked. Are you using scripts?
Oh, goodness, yes.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Well, when we first started Bold, I, as we said, don't love Bold. I love what it has taught me.
Right.
But doing it I wasn't like, this is awesome. But in doing so, it taught me how to respond. And, go back to when I was at that other brokerage, he said, just go and talk to your sphere of influence.
Right.
And my response, and say what?
Yes.
But the scripts have taught me the answer to the and say what.
Yes.
And so now when I have the chance to dialogue with somebody, I have the answer because of the scripts.
That's beautiful. Keller Williams has just a plethora of scripts.
Yes,
and
they do.
They've got a script for every objection you could possibly ever get.
Yes.
And I heard you say a little bit about Bold, and you said you're a little bit uncomfortable. One of the Bold laws is we have to get comfortable
With being uncomfortable.
with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And so are you telling me that Ginger Randall, a people person, is uncomfortable doing the things that Bold pushes you out of it's kind of like the mama eagle pushing the little eaglets out of the nest, right?
I'm not uncomfortable talking to people about things. I'm uncomfortable having people put pressure on me and say, you have to go do this right now.
Gotcha.
That's the thing. I'm like, don't tell me.
Right. So would you say that most realtors procrastinate?
Yes.
Okay.
Most humans procrastinate.
Most humans. Okay. We broke it down to humans. So this is a good thing. It helps you get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay. So you're already telling me that you invest in yourself because you've gone to Bold. How many times?
I just registered for my third one last night.
Registered for your third one. Congratulations on that. Because right here, this little sign behind us, it says your business grows to the extent you do.
Right.
And so you realize that you have to invest in yourself. You have to have the proper tools to be able to grow your garden, right?
Absolutely.
And that's one of the tools is yourself.
Yes.
And understanding that your business grows to the extent you do. Perfect. How else are you investing in yourself, Ginger?
Well, I'm continuing to do things that fulfill me outside of my work life and finding balance in that.
Gotcha.
And that is a really hard thing to do because, as you well know, when people they have your sign in their yard, they don't realize that I have a life outside of their listing.
Right.
And so I've really had to work to find balance in that. So I'm, spending time with the Lord, making sure I'm having relationships that don't rotate around real estate conversations.
Right.
And that's a hard balance to do. And so I'm working on that. But, like I say, primarily spending time with the Lord and reading my scripture and continuing to remind myself of the blessings that God brings me all the time.
Gotcha. So balance is important in this business, and it's really easy to get out of balance because we work during the week doing our normal time block activities, and then guess what? Realtors, we almost work 7 days a week because we have open houses typically on Sunday and things like that. So that was a challenge for you your first year, is figuring out how to do balance.
Well, yes, and helping my clients understand that I have a life outside of their listing.
So can you help me, because there's other agents, I guarantee you, out there, they're struggling with the same thing, that their clients are making all these demands.
Right.
How would you coach someone, or how do you help your clients understand, I've got a life outside of this? What does that look like?
Well, part of it is going back to have those hard conversations. You have to remind them that, look, I have other things I'm doing, and you have to set parameters on your own time.
Okay.
But when I was just on vacation and I was in a different time zone, my clients didn't care because we were getting an offer and ended up getting executed contract on their house.
Right.
They didn't care that I was 5 hours away.
That's right.
And I have to be okay with that.
Yeah. So when you're saying setting parameters, do you think it's better to set those parameters on the front end of the conversation, or you deal with them when they happen?
I think you set realistic expectations at the beginning. I tell my clients, I said, look, we're entering a short-term relationship. I said, today we're all super excited. I said, the day that you we hand the keys over to you or take the keys away, you're going to love me. I said, but just like any relationship, it's going to be like a roller coaster. I said, there's going to be days that you don't want to hear my voice because you're not going to be happy with what I have to say. And I said, and the inverse is also true.
Yeah.
There's days that I'm not going to be happy with you. I said, but we're going to get through it with great conversations and honesty. And then you're going to speak the truth in love to me and me, you. And I said, so we'll get past it. But it's a short-term relationship. And on the other side of it, it's going to be fine.
Going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
And you have found that having that frank, candid conversation really helps pave the way.
It does, because then when the day happens, I can say jokingly, well, remember, I said at the listing or whatever, I told you that we were in a short-term relationship and this was coming. And I said, so remember, we had this. And we laughed about it at that moment. I said, but that day's now here.
Gotcha.
So if you set the expectation up front, then you can kind of buffer off of that and laugh about, well, we said this was going to happen. Yep. Instead of just, boom, the bomb is dropped and I get this, request in to put a brand new roof on my house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take you back just a little bit, because one of the things that I'm sure a new agent is really interested in is, I'm really trying to get that momentum. And I understand about the garden. I understand you got to till and all those kind of things. What does your lead generation look like?
Well, initially it was I did a lot of mail and handwritten notes.
Gotcha.
And making sure that people really knew that I cared about them for real. Right. And a lot of emails and text message and all those different things. So it was like a full assault, making sure.
So you were hitting them from many different venues and being very visible to your client from many sources.
Right. Gotcha. And then I also was doing open houses whenever I could. Right. Because I knew that was the way to start having the conversations.
Right. Do you have a database?
I do. Yes.
Okay. So now tell me, this is a surprise question here. Have you begun the journey of learning Command?
I have.
Okay.
With some hesitancy.
So with some hesitancy, tell me more about that.
Well, I feel like I am the weakest link when it comes to technology. I feel that way. It may not be true, but
I'm sure there's other people that could say the same thing.
I know a couple of other agents who would say the same thing because we commiserate with one another.
Gotcha.
And so I am working toward, and I recognize it's super important to go ahead and marry into Command sooner than later.
Gotcha.
And and it makes me feel as if it highlights my hesitancy, because when I meet any stumbling block with technology, it makes me feel insufficient. And so I don't want to venture there, because the more I realize I'm insufficient, then it hurts.
I understand.
And so I know I've got to overcome that.
Right.
And so that's one of the things with Bold, the 2.0 Bold, is I'm hoping that they can help me address those things and becoming more confident in using the technology.
Right. And we will make a commitment. This office will make a commitment to bring in the right people. If our agents aren't getting the Command, we'll figure it out. Our hope is that our agents will be able to work together, collaborate, and get it figured out. But we want to invest in our people, absolutely, and get this done. This is a great opportunity. And so we know that the market is shifting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We know that your business is down a little bit. You've already indicated you've already got several things on the forefront that's going to close that gap. Have you ever been to Mega Camp or Family Reunion?
I have. Well, I've been to Family Reunion twice. I was going to do Mega Camp, but Mega Camp and Bold here overlap.
Sure.
And so I made the choice to stay and do Bold 2.0 in hopes of addressing those command things and helping me become more efficient at that. And another reason I want to do Bold is, we've talked about the fact that the economy is shifting just a little bit.
Right.
And I want to protect and start building into, once it happens, I'm already prepared for it.
Right. And that's very wise of you as a business person to recognize that Bold is an opportunity to re-engage at a high level and to invest in yourself, that it's going to absolutely put you out on the forefront during a shifted market so that you don't suffer that in your business.
Right. Well,
a lot of people don't get that, and I think you do. So that's really, really wise of you to do that.
I'm enjoying that 100%. I want to make sure it happens faster next time.
Okay, so let me ask you, do you believe you've reached your peak potential?
No.
Okay, so what's next for Ginger Randall?
Becoming more confident in command and learning how to use that so I can reach the goal of helping more people.
Okay. And so one of the things I'll ask you is that if there's a stumbling block there of command, please come to me and share that with me. And I open that up to everybody because it is our heart's desire that you are able to use the tools that we have and grow a beautiful garden. Right?
Well, I look back at the person I was 3 years ago, and that person couldn't possibly dream what I'm able to do now.
Right.
Because I have been stretched and it's been painful and it's been ugly. And there's been days I cried and screamed and like, God, why are you, And I look back, I'm like, but she didn't understand where he was taking her. So, and that's a exciting and frustrating thing some days.
So let me ask you another question. What's your big why?
My big why is so much different today than it was 3 years ago. I look at the list that I would write, my dream sheet from when I first did Bold, things like having a and I wanted a Corvette and I want to do that. Well, I have a Corvette. I bought a Corvette. I bought an antique Corvette.
Wow, that is so wild. Everybody who says I put this down in my Bold diary, every one of those things, I'm getting chills, has come true. That's exciting.
I have an antique Corvette sitting in my driveway right now.
Very nice.
And that was one of the things.
Right.
And but your dreams change,
right? Because
the earning has changed, and so it allows you to dream bigger dreams,
right?
And so that's a process for me of learning how to dream bigger. Because, like I said before, in 18 years in this previous industry, nobody looked at me and says, "I think you're worth more." And I'm going to give you the opportunities to dream as big. And so I've had to learn how to dream bigger because I now believe I can earn what it takes to have those dreams, to finance those dreams.
That is so exciting. I love to hear that. I'm getting chill bumps as you talk about that journey for you. And I know that's one of the things people gloss right over that, but that's one of the things that Bold has in it is they help you stretch. They have that cash register exercise and some other exercises that help you think bigger. And so at the base of all of that, to get where you want to go and to become the person you want to become, it's like, who do I need to be? It's be, do, have. That's a Bold model, right? And so what classes do you need to take?
Right.
What courses do you need to go to? And so I see you investing in those type of things. So I'm very excited for you and what's next for you, and we'll have to catch up on that. Yeah. Is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that you feel like would be really appropriate for our agents that are watching on this podcast today?
I think it's really appropriate, and it's not really a question. It's just a statement of what I believe.
Yes.
Our business model is God, family, work.
Right.
I think it's really important that if you are a believer, and you have that belief system, to even though that doesn't always make sense, to just trust that we serve a risen Lord that really, really cares about our abilities and blessing us. But through those blessings, we are able to give back. And there's just certain things in giving back you can't do without money.
Right.
And it's awesome to go and work at the soup kitchen, but it's awesome to also be able to do some other things that require dollar bills. Right. And not to say, I do not love money. Scripture says the love of money is the root of all evil, and I believe it is.
Yep.
But we can really, really, really make a difference with our dollars if we honor the Lord with those. And I believe that if the Lord can get the dollars to you and you receive them with an open hand, they flow back out. And you can make a tremendous difference in giving gifts to people that are unexpected, but also to give back to our community for people that are suffering and in need and those kind of things. And this industry gives you that ability. And, it just amazes me at what the money, when it comes in, I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Now I flat out absolutely earn it.
Sure.
But it's
you have
just
to deal with some hard cases out there potentially, don't you?
Yeah. When I was 5 hours away on vacation 2 weeks ago, I was negotiating transactions.
Yes.
And, but Keller Williams is a family. There's some tremendously caring people in this place that if I need help, I can call upon them and they will help. And the inverse is true.
Yeah.
And I've only been here and been successful. So I don't know what the other brokerages look like, and I don't know what the culture is there, but I know what it is here.
Right.
And I can boast in that because I can say, if I need help, I can call from 5 hours away and go, hey, would you mind? Yep. And absolutely, I'll be glad to. And that is tremendous. And I've tried to pay those people and say, here, your time is worth something. They're like, I'm not taking your money. If I need help, let me just call you.
Right.
And that is tremendous. And you can't put a dollar amount on that. And in the society that we live in now, it's, dog eat dog.
Right.
And it's not that way everywhere.
Well, I want to tell you, I'm so happy to be on this journey with you and to watch you become the person that God intended you to be, and the servant and the caring person that you are. And we're better because you're here.
Well, thank you.
And so I'm so excited that, that you gave us this portion of your day. I know you're very busy. And so we thank you for the time you committed to this podcast.
Thank you.
And we're here and we're changing lives and we're living the dream.
This has been a production of Keller Williams Realty in Flowood, Mississippi, located at 132 Riverview Drive, Suite A. To contact our offices, call us at 601-977-9411.